From the very top row of MetLife Stadium at the Meadowlands in New Jersey, that is New York City, Manhattan in the very distance. You can see the skyline ahead of 49ers Giants. How about a quick flip to look to the parking lot where the festivities have begun on this beautiful East Coast November 2nd day. As you can see, the Giants have got the throwback vibes on the field. That is the old Giants logo, same logo that they had during the glory years of the 1980s and the early 1990s. The 49ers and the Giants played many games right next door at the old Giant Stadium back then, many great games back then. The 49ers lost big in one, 49-3 in the playoffs, turned around and beat the Giants the next year, 78 yards from Joe Montana to Jerry Rice with under a minute left to beat the Giants. One of the great finishes in 49ers franchise history. But that was next door. This stadium was opened in 2010. We got a lot of 49ers news. We got to walk around the stadium to show you. As you guys know, tradition is that I head to the upper deck of every single NFL stadium, and we are checking a new building off of the list this time. And I don't just go to the upper deck, I go to the very top row of the upper deck to show you the stadium in a way that you don't normally get to see it on TV or even in person, because what are the chances that you get a seat at the very, very top where you could actually turn around, look to the parking lot, or, you know, these seats sometimes are the best skyline views. And obviously New York has maybe the most famous skyline in the world, and we could see Manhattan there in the distance. So why don't we walk around and see Manhattan as we take and keep tabs on pregame warmups. Today's news in the morning is that the 49ers have fielded several calls regarding trade interest in Jauan Jennings. Very interesting, because Jauan Jennings is in the final year of his contract with the 49ers. They were unable to find agreement on an extension over the course of this offseason and training camp. Obviously, there's been some difficulty for Jauan Jennings this season. He's playing with 5 broken ribs, but he is slowly healing. He has struggled this year. He's dropped several passes. I don't think he's been as good of a run blocker this year. However, he still is integral to what the 49ers do offensively, especially when Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk remain out. It's been a mess at the wide receiver position for San Francisco health-wise this year. The trade deadline is on Tuesday, November 4th. So we shall see what the 49ers are able to do on the defensive front. We know that they could use reinforcements there. We got the new ostrich cowboy boots, by the way, as we look at the field here in New York. But well, we'll see what happens on the trade deadline front defensively for the 49ers, and we will see. There's a lot of difficulty in making player-for-player trades in this league, but it is not impossible, and we'll see if maybe Jauan Jennings is included in some discussions. The issue for the 49ers is that they do not have Pearsall and Ayuk right now, but there is a chance that they return both Pearsall and Ayuk at some point this season, maybe as soon as next week, although Ayuk would probably just be a return to practice as his window to ramp up draws nearer and nearer. Both Ayuk and Pearsall making progress in the returns from their respective injuries. So the goal here is to make it all the way to that side so we could see New York City and then take a look back down on the field. We could tell you a bit about MetLife Stadium. I could answer some questions about this matchup. You could see that this is where the all 22 cameras are set up. So not the television cameras, but the ones for the actual game tape. They need to get a higher vantage point, so they go all the way to the top here. This is the MetLife Stadium signage. I'm going to walk up to it. Check this out. I'll flip the camera back around. This is a workout. This show's always a workout as we make it up the steps. Okay, so now we're back on the very top row, and this says MetLife Stadium. You can see how big these letters are. This is the largest venue in the NFL. Replaces the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, which is obviously no longer used for NFL football, and they downsized the Coliseum as well. But when the Rams first moved into the Coliseum, That had a capacity of over 90,000. MetLife Stadium has a capacity of 82,500, was built in 2010 for $1.6 billion, at the time, the most expensive stadium in American sports history. It's going to be replaced by the new stadium in Nashville. And I think there's been stuff more expensive than this built since MetLife opened, but it replaced the old Giants Stadium, which was adjacent to here. Now, I was never here when it was the old Giants Stadium. I wonder if it was in this parking lot over here. I think it might have been in this parking lot. It was next door because they had to build the new one while the old one was still running. But that's good trivia for next time. We got our first fans in the building, our 49ers fans. You can see over there, George Kittle. We're in the 85. If they want to come join the show, they can feel free to, but we're going to continue unabated toward our corner. It takes a while to get all the way up here to the upper deck. They just opened the gates at about the time that I started this live. I love the fact that the Giants are going retro italic. So 49-3, that was I want to say the 1986 season. Yes, it was the 1986 season, January 1987 playoffs. 49ers lost to the Giants, Bill Parcells, Bill Walsh, that big rivalry. In 87, the 49ers were the #1 seed, but they blew the Vikings, so they didn't face the New York Giants. The Vikings were the upstart that year in 1987 that upset San Francisco, a candlestick. You moved to 1988, and the 49ers had to scratch and claw their way to a Super Bowl win. They weren't a dominant team that year, but one of the big wins on that entire journey was right here. Not right here, maybe right there. Maybe that famous catch was on that parking lot, but it was here at the Meadowlands. And here at the Meadowlands, the 49ers were down 17-13, less than a minute to go, 3rd and 12. And Joe Montana, with a sore elbow, hit Jerry Rice. Sorry about that, audio's out. I was trying to flip the camera there, but the audio's back. Where did I leave off? I don't know where you guys last heard me, but against the New York Giants team in 1988, coached by Bill Parcells, Phil Simms is the quarterback. The 49ers needed to get over that hump, and they did with a big regular season win. Typical Montana to Rice connection. It's only 49ers fans in the house so far. You can see Christian McCaffrey in front of me. You could see some of the initial warm-ups for San Francisco straight ahead. You couldn't ask for a better East Coast day. You hope for this when you see the game is in late October, early November. You hope you get those crisp fall feels, and that's exactly what we were lucky enough to get at MetLife Stadium and in New York City for the whole weekend. I discovered a second 49ers bar in New York. It's called Super Burrito. It's in Greenwich Village. I guess there's another one in Brooklyn and Williamsburg. Jay Glazer says the Seahawks, Bears, 49ers, Cowboys, and Eagles are all being aggressive during the trade deadline. So obviously, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have been playing this very coy. They've been saying, yeah, we'll do whatever works, and it's going to be hard to find a move, but it does sound like the 49ers are going to be pressing the accelerator as this trade deadline on Tuesday nears. Today is such a massive opportunity for San Francisco because they can move to 6-3. I consider this a pivotal game. 6-3 versus 5-4 is a big difference, especially considering what looms next. The showdown against the Rams, and before that, the trade deadline at which we expect the 49ers to be aggressive. Jay Glazer just confirmed that. So this is, if you enter Tuesday or the events preceding Tuesday at 6-3, you've convinced even the biggest naysayers that you are a legitimate contender. 6-3, especially given the injury troubles that the 49ers have had this year, is no joke. And you know what? The schedule is actually relatively manageable for the 49ers the rest of the way, including today. They should be favored in all but 3 games: Rams, Seahawks, and Colts. Today, the 49ers are favored by 2.5 points here at MetLife Stadium against the New York Giants. They're calling it the legacy game. That's awesome. So the Giants are going to be wearing the legacy uniforms, and the 49ers don't even have to wear legacy uniforms because they have legacy uniforms on. Their standard road jerseys are the ones that they wore in those great games against the Giants here in the 1980s. Now, I can't do a show here from MetLife without talking about that turf. It's artificial turf. It's not good for you. It's not the same turf as 2020 when the 49ers saw Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas tear ACLs on back-to-back plays. Jimmy Garoppolo also got hurt in that game again. That was against the New York Jets. But they replaced it in 2023. Maybe we shouldn't call it Met Death Stadium anymore, but it still is not a reason why Purdy is not the starting quarterback today. All right, I made it to the very top. We have our city. Are you guys ready? There's the stadium. There is Manhattan. Try to keep this as still as possible. You can see the Chrysler Building, Empire State Building, Lower Manhattan, and the Freedom Tower is back here, but it's actually blocked a little bit by part of that complex. So why don't we walk to unblock the Freedom Tower and see a little bit more of the New York City skyline here from MetLife Stadium. So no Purdy today, at least as far as out if Brock Purdy is quarterback 2 or if he's emergency quarterback 3, if he is out altogether. And I'll try to stick with you guys up until that actually comes out. Mike, what time is it right now? Can you text me? I can't even, or you guys can tell me in the comment section what time it is, and I could let you know what time we're going to know on Brock Purdy. There you go. There's Manhattan. So we've got 16 minutes until the inactives come out, so maybe I won't stay with you, but I'll just tell you the stakes because 16 minutes is a long time to sit here talking. Maybe I will, but first, Midtown Manhattan framed by the Ferris wheel. Not bad. Empire State Building is right in the middle. And then you've got Lower Manhattan, Freedom Tower. The World Trade Center used to be right there. I know it's shaky, but I can't do any better because I don't have a tripod and there's no stabilizer on YouTube Live. So we've got about 15 minutes until we find out if Brock Purdy is QB2 or emergency QB3 for the 49ers. But I think that a big part of the reason why Brock is not the starter in this game is because of the turf that you're looking at right now on the field far below me as I partake in tradition and I go to the very, very top row of the stadium. These are some of the cheapest seats, I'm sure, but they're not bad. Again, this is the largest venue in the NFL. 82,500 fit here. Yeah, it does really feel like an old Giants-49ers rivalry game. How is the Wi-Fi here? I saw some people complaining. I'm guessing that it's not great. That's sometimes the problem when you head to the very top of these stadiums. You don't get the Wi-Fi. Somebody says they're expecting a close, tough game. I think you could almost always expect a close, tough game in the NFL. Somebody said the Wi-Fi isn't bad. Good. I probably should have had it on cellular data because when I'm moving, then it's changing routers as we're going from place to place, but it's all good. 49ers on the field for their initial stretches. You can see the Giants are on the other side. Nobody is in full uniform yet. Usually it's the special teamers that come out in full uniform. And did the time change? Is that why we got an extra hour of sleep? That gave me an extra hour to get out here to MetLife. That does mean, though, that it's going to be dark sooner. Yeah, the time did change. So we are now officially in that fall season where it's going to be getting darker very early. And it's going to be getting colder. I mean, it already is crisp here. This is a perfect day. If you're in the area here in New York and you're still debating about whether to go to the game or not, then I think that this should be your answer. Just take a look at this stadium and take a look at the sunshine. I mean, it's going to be shady earlier, I know that, but it's not going to be frigid, not going to be cold tonight. Really, really good conditions for this football game. My prediction for today, 49ers 27, New York Giants 21. I believe that San Francisco is going to win this game with offense. I think that they're going to hold on to the football, they're going to hog the ball, they're going to have to. They don't have Yetur Gross-Matos, who went on injured reserve yesterday. They're not going to have Bryce Huff. He's out for a second straight game with a hamstring injury. They should have Huff back next week against the Rams. So they're down their top 3 pass rushers again. This is where Nick Bosa tore his ACL back in 2020. And given that, you have to control the ball if you're the 49ers. You have to shield the defense from abuse if you are San Francisco. So I don't think that the defense will look as bad as last week, because last week was just exceptionally poor. But one of the reasons why the defense looked so bad last week was that the 49ers offense was 3 and out on its first 3 possessions. And if the offense doesn't shield the defense is exposed. I don't think the offense is going to be that bad because the Giants have a bad defense. Last week, the 49ers played the #1 defense in all of football, and that was the Houston Texans. This week, they're going to play the number 28 defense. The Giants just gave up 2 100-yard rushers last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think that Christian McCaffrey carrying the ball on the ground is going to be big, but if they're loading up against the run, then you pass. It doesn't matter how you control the ball or move the ball. Run or pass, you do whatever the defense gives you, and you take advantage of the fact that it's not a good New York Giants defense. And then you leave this game and you head back home, not to New York City, that's right there, but to Newark Airport, which is that way. That is Newark, New Jersey. The 49ers are going to fly out of Newark, and you try to bring Kayvon Thibodeau or Will McDonald IV from the Jets on the plane with you back home. The Bengals are now open to trading Trey Hendrickson. That just came from Jay Glazer. So what did I tell you guys? This whole time, the Bengals have been bluffing. Of course they're open to trading Trey Hendrickson because the Bengals are terrible. So it's about to get really, really interesting over the course of the next few days. Trade deadline is at 1 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesday. And first the 49ers have to play today. They're going to try to move to 6-3 on this field in New York. If they move to 6-3, they've got the Rams looming with Trey Hendrickson now officially available, Jalen Phillips available, Will McDonald IV available, other players at other positions available, Jauan Jennings being inquired about. We could see a lot of movement over the course of the next few days between now and November 4th. But first we've got to focus on this game at beautiful MetLife Stadium, the largest building in the NFL. Somebody asking, what would it cost to get Hendrickson? I think that if the Bengals want a first-round pick, you tell them to kick rocks. If the Bengals just let Hendrickson walk at the end of this year, they could get a low 3rd-round compensatory pick in all likelihood. So they're benefiting if they get offered a 2. And I think at a 2, you consider it because Trey Hendrickson is such a respected player that I think would immediately thrust the 49ers back into Super Bowl contention, assuming that he could get back to health. Who knows? Maybe the injury that he's going through right now isn't all that serious. Maybe it's the trade me injury. So Hendrickson available. 49ers definitely interested. I've told you over the course of the last several weeks that the 49ers are interested in Trey Hendrickson. It was just a matter of the Bengals being willing to sell The fact that the Bengals lost to the New York Jets, I believe that was on this field last week, definitely pushed them closer into sell mode. We pointed out that the Bengals are a team that had delusions of grandeur this year. They're not good, and the AFC North is dysfunctional. I don't think they need receivers, though, so I don't think sending Jauan Jennings to the Bengals, as one of the commenters suggested, is necessarily the solution at play. Mike, what time is it right now? How many more minutes do I have until inactives? Trying to make this a marathon. You know what's fitting? Me trying to make this a marathon? The New York City Marathon is going on right now, right there. There's New York City with all those really tall buildings. The famous New York City Marathon happening today. It is an absolute zoo in New York. We are across the river, the Hudson River here in the state of New Jersey, where I am conducting a marathon pregame live so we could see the inactives come out. I might tap out. I may not run all 26.2 miles. I may not finish the swim from Alcatraz, but I will try. I think that Spencer Burford is going to start at left guard. I really do. That's the vibe that I got from this week. I know that Connor Colby, it's bordering on the point of unplayability for the 49ers. It's causing Trent Williams to have to pick up a ton of slack at left tackle right next to him at left guard. And, you know, that's nothing against Colby. He was not meant to play this year. These are more all-22 film cameras, by the way. This is the end zone angle. That's how they get the end zone angle. Let's walk under here. Cam Inman thinks that Keon White will start. It's possible. I don't really care who starts on the offensive line. Matters a little bit more than who starts on the defensive line because of the fact that those guys stay in the whole game unless they get hurt or they get benched. All right, now we have our clear view, except for the Ferris wheel of the skyline. We're back. We cut out a little bit, but sorry about it. Couldn't do much about it. I'm going to sit back down. Their fans are starting to populate the field, so I'm just trying to get away from people. Is it clear now again, Mike? I turned off the Wi-Fi, but now that I sat down, I figured maybe I can turn it back on. All right, if it's clear now, maybe we don't need to turn it on. Those of you just joining, we are at MetLife Stadium, sitting in the very top row. This is tradition. I love to sit in the very top row of every single stadium that I visit before the game, not during the game. But you guys get a chance to see what it looks like here. The Giants using the vintage old school field. They're going to be wearing their throwback uniforms. It feels like a rivalry from the 1980s or early 1990s. I mean, these two teams have caused each other a lot of pain. This is not the stadium where Joe Montana and Jerry Rice played. That was Giant Stadium. That was right next door. This is the largest stadium in the NFL, 82,000 seats, built in 2010. So the 49ers have played here a few times already, although the great memories came when the Giants were wearing the Italics helmets, which they're going to wear today, back in the 80s and the 90s. The game that I can keep on talking about, and I know we have a lot of viewers here now that weren't here at the start of the show, was in 1988. 17-13, less than a minute left. The fearsome Giants defense. 49ers had a 3rd and 12. Joe Montana and Jerry Rice hadn't done much of anything all game. 78-yard streak for a touchdown and a win, and I'm sure that made Eddie DeBartolo happy. When the 49ers played the Giants, they loved winning in New York. Eddie would invite Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and some of those players to stay behind and take them out to dinner. They wouldn't take the team plane home. They'd fly home on the private jet because he loved taking them out to dinner there. That is Manhattan, the largest. Well, Manhattan is not a city. Manhattan's one of the 5 boroughs, but that is Manhattan, New York City, the largest city in the United States. You can see everything here in Manhattan from the Empire State Building, the 49ers bar. Finnerty's is right at the base of the Empire State Building, all the way to Lower Manhattan and the Freedom Tower. There's a second 49ers bar called Super Burrito that I discovered yesterday that's kind of in between both Midtown and Lower Manhattan. The airport over here in the state of New Jersey is that way. And then if we continue panning, we get all the way to the field here at MetLife Stadium. So 49ers Giants, I predict that San Francisco is going to win this 27-21. We're going to have inactives coming out here in just a couple minutes. As soon as those inactives come, or some more news about Brock Purdy. Maybe we gather some other clues about the 49ers roster, but the reason they're favored in this game is because the New York Giants do not have a good defense. John asked, what's my offer for Trey Hendrickson? I would trade it too. I would trade it too for the rest of this season for Trey Hendrickson. If I am John Lynch, I feel that I owe that to a locker room that has managed to open this season, despite all the injury adversity, has managed to open this season. Well, the 49ers need a win today. That would make them 6-3. If you open this season 6-3 and you're favored in all the 3 games the rest of the way with the Rams coming up, your draft picks have not yielded good pass rushers. Just point blank. The only one that you've gotten out of all the draft picks, plus pass rusher wise, is Nick Bosa. Other than that, they have not yielded plus pass rushers. The 49ers have acquired all the other plus pass rushers through either trade or free agent signing. So why would you be afraid to give up a pick to get a plus pass rusher, since you can't get a plus pass rusher with a pick through the draft anyway? At least this way, you essentially guarantee that you're going to get some production off of your investment. So that's just me, and I think the 49ers understand that, at least to some degree. I think that they share that opinion to some degree, maybe not as aggressively as I do, but those of you that are saying just trade Jauan Jennings to the Bengals, I'm afraid that you're not understanding supply and demand. The Bengals don't need a receiver. So that player-for-player trades are inherently very hard. In all likelihood, Jauan Jennings is going to stay with the 49ers. It's just interesting that teams are calling on him and that the 49ers have a need along the defensive line. Steve says a conditional 2. Yeah, I would say, of course, any trade you're going to, especially if you're getting up a second-round pick, you would include conditions onto it. I'm not going to go through contract terminology right now. I'm just tossing out generic price guidelines. What time is it, Mike? I need to know the time so I know when these inactives are coming out. 8:30, all right. So Mike is going to text me the inactives as soon as they hit Twitter. And then we're going to have our next piece of news here. I normally sit in the press box, so my seats for this game are right here. You see Y.A. Tittle, that's a former 49er, played for the New York Giants. So I'm sitting right under Y.A. Tittle's name in that press box. Hendrickson is inactive for the Bengals. We know that he's been dealing with a hip, but they're planning to trade him. They don't want to play him even if he's a little bit hurt. So that checks with what Jay Glazer said about the Bengals' willingness to trade Trey Hendrickson. And now we wait for the 49ers inactives to come out. You guys get a full 30-minute live. Full 30-minute live here on a beautiful day from the Meadowlands. We're still waiting. The 49ers take forever. I swear they're probably trolling me knowing that I'm live, waiting for them for the inactive news, which comes out 90 minutes before kickoff. I mean, I could keep on showing you guys Manhattan over and over again, but you could also rewind and see it yourselves. Did somebody literally propose Jeffrey Simmons for Jauan Jennings? Yeah, that's not going to happen. Roy says the Bengals have no faith in Flacco. I would have no faith. Like, Flacco's the least of their worries. The Bengals have a terrible defense, even with Trey Hendrickson. They're just not a good team. Come on, 49ers, you've got to release these inactives at some point. Guys are going to be in uniform before I even get the inactives, and I have to head down to the field. I can't be waiting up here forever. It's going to get dark really, really early, yes. Somebody's saying Arden Key for Jauan Jennings. The problem is that the Tennessee Titans, I don't think, want a player on an expiring contract. Mike, I'm going to need you to text me the inactives one by one because I can't read anything. It's only popping up on the top of my screen. They're out now. If you can text me them one by one, I'll read them one by one. We got to be fancy here around this. And Brock Purdy, inactive. All right, so Purdy's not going to play as expected. I thought maybe QB3, but no. Ricky Pearsall, inactive. Jake Brendel, inactive. Bryce Huff, inactive. Marquise Siegel, inactive. See, he got benched and now he's inactive. And CJ West, the rookie, is also inactive, and so is Jordan James, the running back. So Siegel is the only one that really raises an eyebrow, but he had already been benched. Already been replaced by Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa at that safety position. No Brock Purdy. He's not even the QB3 emergency today. And that's exactly what I told you guys when Brock Purdy was said to not be the starting quarterback. They don't want him playing on this turf. Brock Purdy, I think, probably back next week. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. There it is, MetLife Stadium and New York City. There is Manhattan. All looks nice. We will talk to everybody very soon. Enjoy the game, enjoy the trade deadline.